I guess this is the first of the really big 2012 smartphones that I've had here in my hands, and well, I'm not really that impressed. Maybe it's the old version of Android 2.3, or maybe it's Sony's rather weird design, but the only thing that really impressed me about the Xperia S is the gorgeous 720p 4.3-inch RGB screen, just about the highest performance phone display I've ever seen. Stunning. But yes, the design, I'm just not sure where to start. The whole back cover comes off, okay, to reveal an acre of plastic and a small micro SIM slot. No access to anything else, no access to the internal 1750 milliamp hour battery, so that'll be dying slowly over the next year or so then, with no way to replace it. What on earth was the point in all this coming off, complete in places with badly fitting joins, just to give access to a minute micro SIM slot? The back cover just compromises the entire device and for no user benefit. Then there are the Android control buttons. I say buttons, they're actually tiny dots that are almost invisible and have to be pressed quite confidently on the high side in order to register. How do you know which is which? Because the legends for the dots are printed on the perspex strip at the bottom of the phone, 6mm or so below the dots. Don't worry though, because the strip and the legends light up some of the time. The rest of the time you'll be thinking now, which does which and what does what? In fairness, you do get used to the placement after a few days, but what the heck was wrong with printing the control legends instead of the tiny dots? Like every other Android phone, Sony, it's styling gone mad, I tell you. Talking of styling, although the back of the Xperia S is nicely curved, and although I love the matte material for the case, the ultra square top and bottom corners make the phone seem larger than it actually is, and uncomfortable in a trouser pocket. Or maybe that's misleading, since the phone really is large. The bezel beneath the screen at the bottom here, buttons, perspex, yada yada, is a good 2 centimeters. The other downside of having capacitive buttons here is that, short of taking a photo, of which more in a minute, the only way to wake the Xperia S from sleep is to press the top button and then swipe, basically a two-handed operation. It's almost impossible to do this one-handed. So there goes the shopping or the briefcase or the gulp child. Nokia, Samsung and Apple all have the right idea, with either a physical toggle lock for a key lock or a button that can be reached with the same hand doing the swipe. The micro USB port here, device left, has a clunky tethered cover that's a right pain to maneuver back into place after use. Just about be done. Ditto the HDMI port on the other side, though at least both sit quite flush when reinserted properly. Finally, and being a bit picky, the bottom edge of the earpiece slot here is quite sharp, which means that every time I swipe down for Android notifications, my finger catches it. Yeah. But enough of the design negatives. This is Sony we're talking about, and they love being different. Maybe it's just me. On the technical front, this is a dual-core 1.5 GHz Android smartphone with a gig of RAM, and it's pretty nippy. Whether browsing web pages or, as here, playing videos, every test video I threw at it played absolutely fine. The Xperia S is no slouch. The speaker's not too bad either. It's rather tinny, but okay, there's only 32 gigabytes of internal flash memory, which should be enough for most people. They do know that only 25 gig of this is available out of the box, but I still didn't miss a micro SD expansion slot. As modifications to Android go, Sony's latest Timescape layer is quite shallow. Zap some of the extra widgets, ignore the Timescape one itself, and you're not far off stock Android. There's quite a bit of bloatware to ignore, delete or hide though, with Music Unlimited, Video Unlimited, Football downloads, PlayStation Network, Wise Pilot, McAfee Security, Let's Start, PS Store, Play Now, an alternative app store, and Recommender, pointing to the main Google Play Store. Just ignore or zap it all. But all the usual Android regulars are here and looking great on the 720p screen. Browser is superbly clear and fast, one of the very best mobile web browsing experiences I've ever had. Google Maps navigation works well too, though the mechanical robot voice is still great on me, and I wanted to dive back into the human voices of Nokia Maps. YouTube in HQ mode with the Bravia colour and contrast enhancements is a stunning experience. I wanted to sit back and watch all day long. By default, screen brightness is set to half as here, but I do like the pseudo AMOLED experience created by Bravia and max brightness. Interestingly, there's no auto brightness option, although I did notice in the widget that they supply You basically just turn the backlight on or off, which is not very helpful. No doubt there's a third-party utility to help here. I was very pleased to see a great set of setup and welcome screens when you first turn on. Both Google and Sony have done wonders here, and there's little left to chance for the new user. Somewhat oddly, Sony's version of the Android keyboard, while having nice and large virtual keys, omits both a full stop and a comma. Having to dive into a key options panel to access these is a royal pain. NFC's here under the hood, and Sony's PR makes a big thing about setting up smart tags to initiate various apps and device settings with one tap. I can't demonstrate this on camera because the review unit didn't come with the 3 tags normally shipped in the retail box. But apparently you get a blue one, car, for turning on Bluetooth and sat-nav, so you'd stick this on your dashboard and then tap it when you get in, plus a red one for home, turns on Wi-Fi and increases system volume, plus a black one for night, logically, which turns on your alarm and silent mode and switches off Wi-Fi. One concern I have is that the smart tags, which work with the Sony Xperia NFC equipped series, don't toggle settings. So if you wanted to get all custom, you'd have to have one tag that you tapped to set things up, for example, before a cycle ride, and another to tap when you got back to reset whatever you just did. It might work out a little cumbersome, but if you do want to go custom, note that one of my phone show fans happens to run an NFC tag business, and I can wholeheartedly recommend it. It's the nfcdog.com. Go bookmark it now. You can essentially buy these small sticky tags and write them using NFC Task Manager on your phone. You can even buy waterproof tags, which are ideal for outside adverts. Good stuff and great geek fun. I look forward to playing with smart tags myself, or when I get some. Okay, enough wibbling, time to address the elephant in the room, the Xperia S's camera. Here are some nice sample images I've taken with it. At 12 megapixels, the S's camera was touted to rival or even beat that in the Nokia N8. No, at my level of pickiness, it's not even that close, even in good light, with sharpening and noise reduction algorithms desperately here trying to make up for the camera having quite a small sensor. And in low light, as with other small cameraed LED flash equipped smartphones, the Xperia S's photos are as noisy and blurry as the rest. However, the Xperia S's camera is still one of the best I've seen on an Android phone, and if you grab it for all the benefits that the OS brings, then the camera will probably keep you happy enough, outdoors at least. Of particular note is the quick launch mode. When the Xperia S is locked, as here, just mash the camera button down when you see something special and fleeting, and the device, here we go, we'll try it, press, turns on, opens its camera, focuses and snaps, all in under 2 seconds. Very, very handy, and something I'd like to see on other devices.
And this is test video at 720p, although it also does 1080 on the Xperia S, testing the continuous autofocus, which seems to be somewhat patchy. Also of note is that there's very high compression. File size is only half that you'd expect from other 720p and 1080p phones. In practice, this means it uses up less of your limited memory. Unfortunately, it means you also get slightly lower quality in terms of actual detail in the frame. So continuous autofocus, sound is a bit patchy as well. I know this is swirly wind, slightly tinny and with a bit of hiss, but see what you think.
So what do we have here? A competitive dual-core Android smartphone? Well, certainly, but it has some design issues that can't be ignored, and it does very little to stand out. The headline gimmick, the Perspex strip here at the bottom, is just that, a gimmick. It only lights up in white, and even then fairly erratically. There's no use of the strip to let you know of emails or charging status, though there is a traditional LED at the top for that, in fairness. And the disconnect between the Perspex legends and the sweet spot for where to actually touch is so large that Sony even put in a special warning screen about this as the very first screen you see in the Xperia S setup. Not really a good sign of design done right, is it? Add in the inexplicable back cover battery situation and a square-jawed look from the mid-2000s, and even a sumptuous display and a blazing performance can't swing me back to a heartfelt recommendation here. The Xperia S isn't a terrible smartphone, but it's also not the 2012 standout that it desperately wanted to be.